Hey, so Approachable Wolf here. And so I've built my utopian world in my paintings, kind of like a manifestation of sorts. But I recognize the reality of it is I might not get what I'm waiting for until the day I reach heaven. And so essentially I paint my heaven. And of course I see myself going in through this great stargate in the sky to a cabin with the moon on a lake, and it's beautiful, right? But what's there? My mom's there. I live in this big cabin. Got this cool little center for all my wolf pack of dogs or whatnot, and maybe even wolves. I don't know what heaven is in store for me. This beautiful bonfire and this moon sky, and and then of course, probably like my dad in a little cabin. I don't know. But and I got a few more paintings, and there's this. I'm gonna step off for a minute, but I'm still here. And so, like I said, in the great eternity for me, the one that I want to choose, the way I want to see my heaven, is I want to go through it and get to the other side. Now, Jesus talks about joining him in paradise someday. And I really wanted to paint what paradise looks like for me. Now, some of these elements are realistic, like my mom having this beautiful deck that she can just ride down, and this little truck, because in the perfect world, I'm driving a truck. And in the perfect world, of course, there's a bonfire every night. And so things like cabins and lakes and bonfires and trucks and trailers and cabins and such and lakes, they're all realistic, tangible things. So some of these things will happen in the course of my life as I walk towards that paradigm. But utopia was never meant to be achieved in this lifetime, and I talk about that with therapists and such and professional people, like in a realistic way, and I've explained to them that's not really where my headspace is. But my mom loves the song I Can Only Imagine. It was played at my dad's funeral. And, for me, I know I'm going to see Jesus someday. I know I'm going to see my dad again someday. And I just want to know where I'm seeing him. Where I'm seeing those lost family members, where I'm seeing those lost friends. I'm still blessed to have my mom, but someday I'm going to have to say goodbye. And I want to know where I'm putting her, when I put her in my heart and when I put her in my thoughts. I know I don't want to live with my dad forever locked into either ashes or into, that last time that I saw him. I don't want him to live in that purgatory. I don't want him to live into that, that as his final resting place. I want him to live in my paintings. I want him to live in my heart and in my head, and I want to live with the perfect love in my head and my heart and my paintings and whatnot. For eternity. I'm far from eternity, man. I got a long drive there, and I'm a walker, not a driver. So, so this is the kind of stuff I like to paint, and I hope to share more on my approachablewolf.com site when I do it. For the most part, paintings, I have not had a plan on how I will sell or send them or how I will distribute them, if I distribute them, because one of my conflicts is really becoming too entangled and obsessed with my own stuff. Not in a narcissistic way, but in just I genuinely enjoy it, and these might end up things that I pass down to my family when I pass, and so that they know where I'm going. But again, long journey to heaven. And I don't believe in stairways to heaven. I believe in stargates to heaven. That's my thing. Stargates to heaven. So, And as much as we want to say, are stargates real? Is this, that? The Ark of the Covenant, blah, 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 blah. They put this in there and that landed there. I just feel like, honestly, it's fun to think about, but let's not over obsess over it. We got this lifetime here on Earth that's kind of crazy that we got to get through. And But like taking a moment every once in a while to just kind of dwell in your head, I highly recommend it. Even though people have said don't live in your head, I want to live in my head and I want to live in my heart, because that's where my dad is, that's where my God is, and that's where like the perfect life for me is, and I want to gravitate towards that. And it might be that someday I'm happy and successful and living in that utopia, and everybody thinks I'm gone. But, like for me, my dad, I believe my dad is somewhere on a train that's in that utopia, driving to his cabin or riding to his cabin. So I want to spread his ashes over by the train, if I can. I want to find a train to do that, because he loved trains. And yeah, it's a good morning. I'm reading some scripture. I'm listening to some motivational type of ministries. Maybe not the traditional type of ministry that everybody views as like, this is holy scripture, this is that, this is that. But even the more motivational talks put me into a place of good faith on this Wednesday morning. And let me believe, and just, it's a balance, especially when you're like a mental case like myself, and like you gotta be so grounded into reality that you can't take a break to just think more positively, just think more happily. But things like art and photography and writing, these were all things that were designed to release people from the purgatory of this planet while we're still here. But there is, like I said, there is the perfect heaven for me someday. I might live it on earth, I might live it in heaven, but these are the goals that I've set for myself. Getting my mom in a nice little space off to the side so that I don't have to live with her constantly to take care of her. But I am her caretaker, so I have to be here. And but like having like a place for like all my animals that I get to have, and and all the spirit dwellings of nature just running around me, and me just being one with nature and one with the stuff. Like I'm a city kind of dude sometimes, and I'm used to like the bigger city buildings and like the fancier stuff, but like at heart, like I belong in nature. I am like I can't be contained in public. I'm out there. I'm outrageous. I'm wild. I'm wanting to be free. And but that passion goes towards heaven someday. And maybe there'll be a little heaven on earth some days. And maybe there'll be a little bit of purgatory as I wait patiently for that day to where I meet Christ. But why do I pick the moon over the sun in the sky? Well, because I know that Jesus always comes back with the sunrise every morning. And every night he watches over me through the stars, and as does my dad. And the moon is just there to like reflect all of that, as it is a satellite. And it's, sending signals from God. So at least this is what I want to believe, and who is anybody to judge me and tell me otherwise?